An extraordinary performance from Uruguay, who were overwhelming underdogs and at times in the second half had their illustrious hosts a little worried. But in the end, France do get the job done. They've got what they came for, and they've made it 2 wins from 2 at this World Cup. Plenty, though, for Fabien Galtier and his coaching staff to sift through. Full time in Lille, it has finished France 27, Uruguay 12.
Dave, thank you. Well, 12 changes notwithstanding, that is a decidedly sloppy French performance, to say the least. No bonus point. Uruguay, 2 tries scored and gave a very good account of themselves, but I suspect the review won't be pretty in the French camp. We'll talk about that game in a moment. Just to mark your card, we are up and running. This is, I guess, what we'll term round 2 of the World Cup. So tomorrow, relatively fresh from the pain of Friday night, opening night, New Zealand will take on Namibia. That's on Virgin Media 3, 7:30. Doubleheader on Saturday, Samoa, Chile, 1:30, Virgin Media 1, followed by Wales, who of course got out of jail a touch against Fiji on Sunday night. They take on Portugal. And Sunday, George Ford and team take on Japan, 7 o'clock. Looking forward to seeing what England produce in their second outing. They'll be hoping, Matt Williams, it's better than what France produced. We appreciate 12 changes is a lot, and it's maybe hard to get up for these kind of games in some respects, but no bonus point, very sloppy, penalties galore, should have had a red card.
Absolutely, Joe. Let's start where credit is due. Uruguay were brave and skillful and determined. They improved their set piece as the game went on. They were in real trouble early on, and they played exceptionally well. And they put pressure on France, and France did not respond well. And I think in that, and not making any excuses here, just an observation, this is the difference in the pools, that the French, the big game for the French was the opening game. So they had a mini peak, for want of a better term. I know all the sports scientists out there, leave me alone. I know you can't, but that was the big game. That was the pressure games. They built up to it. Then they've got a couple of weeks where the pressure backs off. They make a whole lot of changes, and you get a performance like that. It was inaccurate. It was the forwards were very poor. Fiona and I and Andrew were just saying a lack of aggression, a lack of exactness, and also they make all the commentators look foolish. We said before the game how disciplined they were, and they only gave away 5 penalties against New Zealand. They give away 14. What do we know? But you can't do that. They gave away a yellow card again. That makes it really hard. It was a very disappointing performance from a French perspective.
Fiona, it's difficult to know what to read into it. Do you give them a quasi-free pass? It's a game which is quickly forgotten and irrelevant in the context of this tournament. They are just fulfilling a fixture, or does it point to something a touch more interesting / worrying?
Yeah, I think it's a bit more interesting. I mean, they came away without even getting a bonus point in that game. What you have to remember is, yes, it's different players, but it's the same systems they're employing, the same attack system, the same defence. I think Sean Edwards would be very disappointed with what he saw there. It was lethargic. The line speed was non-existent at times. We talked about discipline. They didn't read Ben O'Keefe at all. They were getting on the wrong side of him. Yeah, maybe Uruguay probably a couple of times at maul time might have been flying in from all angles. They might have got away with a couple in the scrum, but this is part of the game, and this team had to come together. And what I saw in that French pack, there was no leaders that stood up and changed how that game was going, physicality wise. No, absolutely. Like, there's no doubt, Andrew, quick word from you, and we'll get to break and look in more detail on the far side. There's no doubt it was a poor performance. I'm inclined to think, well, yeah, how big a deal?
I think that's fair enough. I think there's enough energy and enough enthusiasm in French rugby to cope with a slight minor setback. I think New Zealand will be watching that going, I can't believe the time Uruguay have on the ball. Yeah. They cruised about, they took their time, they looked for holes, they got into their shape, and they were pretty decent. Yeah, they were. There'd be a few Uruguayan players picking up French top 14 contracts.
And that would have been in their thinking. Here's my chance on the world stage. Sure. Absolutely. Yeah.